afternoon. My name is Carolina Galeano, and I want to welcome you to Dr. Williams' Town Hall meeting today. Today's virtual format is a little bit different than what you might be used to. Obviously, we're here at the MCTV studio, but for those of you watching on Zoom, we're excited that you could join us. The way today is going to work out is basically as follows. You will have a chance to submit your question either by raising your hand, and you will be called upon by our MCTV moderator. Or if you're a little more shy, you can also submit it in the chat. You can also send an email to townhall@montgomerycollege.edu. One rule though, make sure you state your name, where you work, what your title is at the college, and your department, or if you're a student, let us know. And with that, I wanna begin to send us your questions. Also, Dr. Williams has some opening remarks for us. So before we get to your questions, Dr. Williams, welcome.
Great. Thank you, Carolina. Very much good afternoon to everyone. Before I kind of start, I just want to say thank you to MCTV and everyone who has made this possible. Thank you to the team members who we'll introduce in a few moments. And thank you to everyone who is joining us here today. This is a fantastic event. It's extremely exciting, and the fall is off and running, and the college is clearly rejuvenated. I can see that just from walking around the campuses and our community engagement sites and our workforce development and continuing education areas. So I see that many more in-person events are drawing students, community members, and our partners to engage more fully in what MC has to offer. To our students, I want to say congratulations for embracing this new chapter. The ambition and talent I have seen in you is absolutely inspiring to all of us. To the faculty and the staff, the work you do empowering these students is unparalleled, truly. I appreciate your dedication as we continue to adjust to external circumstances while giving students equitable opportunities and maximizing their chances at completion and post-completion success. As I mentioned, we have a few individuals who are here today. Individuals from our senior leadership team have joined us, and they're in person. So really appreciate that, because they're going to be a huge resource for me and for us, as I've been here for about 7 months. Today, the 28th. So I'm excited that they're here. And I know that this is a busy time of year. So I'm very thankful that we had the opportunity to have this town hall virtually. I think that makes it easier for individuals to participate. This format is also in the spirit of and in response to what I've heard from many of you about the desire to continue to leverage technology to keep us informed and engaged. So as I've said at governance meetings, clear communication and accurate, information, really matter a lot to an institution that is highly functional. And I must say that I appreciate all the work that occurs within governance councils, within that sphere, and I hope that all of you know that there is always a channel through which you can weigh in on college issues through our governance process. So that said, let me bring you up to date on just a few developments from the fall. Right? Hopefully you've all heard about this, so I'll be brief. Our Presidential Transition Advisory Committee has produced a wonderful report, which I've encouraged everyone to take a look at. Its recommendations overlap with the institutional FY23 priorities, and they open the door to the inaugural vision, which I am in the process of crafting. And I truly hope everyone is able to see themselves in this report and in the forthcoming vision. And as we think about the report and reflect on how the recommendations are crafted, and they are focused around keeping students first, sparking innovation, expanding partnerships, and nurturing a culture of care. So I am confident that we all see ourselves in at least one and probably more of these spaces. And that's a great step forward. Another great step forward as I reflect on the past few months, is also a PTEC recommendation and something I've heard from many of you in regards to circumstances of the pandemic, the economy, and racial injustices, and how we thread and immerse those, how they're deeply considered and addressed within our strategic plan. And there's been a lot of conversation about that, a lot of critical inquiry, a lot of intellectual curiosity, a lot of thought partnership, and I hear you. I hear those sentiments, and to address them, I'm going to announce a process for refreshing the plan to make it even more salient for our current moments and for our future. You know, one thing that is very prevalent in the strategic plan is the college's role in workforce development. That was always part of the strategic plan, always there, and it's also a highlight of the Presidential Transition Advisory Committee report. And it is one of the topics that I've been hearing a lot about in the county. I spend a good deal of time listening to groups like Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation, local chambers of commerce, and just recently the county government's quarterly leadership meeting that occurred about 2 weeks ago. A common refrain is, we need the college to prepare more students for jobs in high demand. I'll repeat that. A common refrain is, we need the college to prepare more students for jobs in high demand, right? I hear, of course, about the most visible ones, biotechnology, healthcare, and engineering, among others. I always, and I will again continue to do this, I'm going to pause and do it now because it is so important. I remind audiences, whoever I'm engaging with, that none of these skills are really reliable without students who can communicate clearly, collaborate across divisions, and can employ critical analysis and reasoning. Right? Providing opportunities where students can become critical thinkers and civically engaged individuals is absolutely essential. Right? We should always uplift these vital skills beneath them. Right? These skills that we find developed in classes like English and history and philosophy, and probably one of my favorites, sociology. Closing the skills gap in all areas is what will prepare students to enter the workplace or move on, to further education. And we need to make sure that we are holistically preparing our students as we have, and as I know we endeavor to continue to do. Before we open it up to questions, I just have some more good news to share, because who doesn't like good news, right? The college is well positioned, continues to be well positioned to empower students, right? With a new $1.6 million IT cybersecurity grant for TechMap, the arrival of Hughes Network on the Germantown campus, the expansion of the college to East County, our events and trainings around anti-racism, the expansion of our nursing program, our award-winning part-time faculty institute, our innovative programs to support students in need and challenge those who can excel even further, and robust transfer programs with 46 institutions and more than 150 transfer agreements. We stay well positioned to empower our students, and I know that we all rally around the effort to continue to do so in ways that are transformational. With that said, I can't mention everything that is happening at the college, but that is a snapshot. I'm eager to engage with you about my first 7 months and your interest at the college, and I can share some of my thoughts over the last few months that I've gotten to know the college better. I've gotten to know all of you better. I'm thankful to those of you who are probably eating your lunch right now. I ran into a few of you earlier today, so appreciate you taking the time to be here. I may ask, as I shared, a member of our senior staff or representative from the institution to maybe fill in some details here and there, just based on some things that may be still fairly new to me. But other than that, I'm super excited to engage with all of you and really exhilarated about the time that we'll have today. So Carolina, we'll read the questions that came into the box before this event, and then we'll go to live questions. So think the floor is open.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And just as a reminder, if you have a question, be sure to raise your hand or type it in the chat. Today we're going to begin with a question submitted by student Matthew Singer. He says, when will Montgomery College follow University of Maryland and other Maryland schools, as well as CDC guidance, and remove the mask mandate?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Matthew, very much. We actually engaged in that conversation earlier this week with our partners from College Council. It was a fantastic conversation where we asked for them to engage their constituents in terms of their thoughts regarding this very specific question. So we're excited about that conversation. We continue to receive feedback from our College Council members, and we will continue to deliberate about the path forward. One thing, a few of the things I will share is that the path forward will, as it has always been, will lead with health and safety as being paramount. I know through what I've read, I know through what I have experienced, that is how Montgomery College has led throughout the pandemic. That is how we will continue to lead with care and concern. We will continue to analyze different points locally throughout our county, throughout the state. We will continue to lean on national advice through the CDC, and we will base our decisions in information that we have within health and science and the facts that are there. And as I mentioned in the beginning of my response, through engaging our constituents at the college. So.
Thank you. This one is from Professor Diego Hernandez, English Language for Academic Purposes at Tacoma Park. Why was the student vaccination requirement rescinded without consultation or notification of faculty? We're one of the many front-facing groups on campus with the most contact with students, and as such, we are at a higher risk for exposure to COVID-19 than the administrators who made this decision.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that question, and thank you for everything that you do to support our students and advance the college. And one of the pieces that we do like to share, as we had a conversation earlier this week about also health education and how we're continuously engaging our community. And Montgomery County has one of the highest vaccinated populations in the nation, and the highest vaccinated population in the state at 90%, right? Who are fully vaccinated, which is absolutely amazing. At MC, our student vaccination rate is above 80%. It's at approximately 83%. So, we have that as well in terms of really, falling into how we're making informed decisions. In addition, Montgomery College, we were actually the last community college in the state to remove this requirement for our students. So the college is, strongly encourages, all members of the Raptor community to get a booster shot. We want to continue on our efforts for health education and continue to promote a healthy and safe environment, and just looking forward to progressing. So.
Our next question is from a student, Aiden Carpin. She says, I'm a sophomore, a student athlete on the women's soccer team. I find it hard to make time in between my class schedule and soccer schedule with very little time to study. Before COVID, athletes were allowed their own space with lockers, showers, and couches to relax or study with the ability to come and go as they please with a code. But since the change of security on the locker room door, most of the athletes have not been able to utilize this freshly renovated space. Is there anything that we can change about this? The second issue is the locker room can only be opened by electronic card and only the coaches have access. As a result, the door often gets propped open to allow players to come in and out of the room. This means anyone can enter the locker room. Our showers do not have stalls, so the players are visible when taking a shower. Because the door needs to be held open to let players in and out, it means anyone could come in and see us taking a shower. This does not seem safe. Here's another closely related question from a student athlete, Andres Javit. August preseason, we had practice at 8:30 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. After being in extreme heat, we had to return to the locker rooms, which were only slightly cooler than being outside. Players are dehydrated and cannot stop sweating because it is too hot. The second issue is accessing the locker room. The door to the locker room can only be opened by electronic card, and only the coaches have access. As a result, the door often gets propped open to allow players to come in and out of the room. But I'm worried the locker room is not safe, both with the temperature and with the inability to limit access to players only.
Oh, thank you very much. And reflecting back to our purpose and equitably really approaching advancing students, I hear several items, and I really appreciate you bringing these to the fore in terms of privacy and safety, right? These are serious concerns, and it's my understanding that we are working towards resolutions and solutions that are going to ensure privacy and safety. One of the interesting components in terms of the doors, from my understanding, is that when we went away and we made adjustments to electronic locks, there were some changes that were made that essentially they changed levels of access. So individuals who had access in this situation, students to certain areas, did not have access after these upgrades. So one of the reason why this is interesting is because these changes were made to actually upgrade the facilities, provide more safety, and it seems like one of the unintended outcomes was that there's now access, limited access in terms of what was previously occurring. So there is a plan. I know there has been recent communication to move forward and identify a plan that really reconstitute a level of privacy and safety that our students need. So,
thank you. The next question comes from Jermaine, faculty member. I'm a faculty member who has a trans female student in one of my classes this semester. She revealed to me that one of her other professors consistently calls her sir, which demonstrates to me that there is much work to be done in training faculty on how to be inclusive. I always ask for my students' pronouns on the first day in order to ensure that I am being gender affirming and creating a safe space. Yet I also think I would benefit from more opportunities to learn about how to make our institution a more just and affirming space for our beautiful students. Can we institute some mandatory diversity and inclusion trainings for all faculty and staff regarding these matters?
Well, firstly, thank you for your equitable approach in your classroom of engaging students on the very first day. As someone who has worked on statewide higher education policy in terms of our LGBTQIA plus population, this is something that really hits home for me. So I really appreciate you bringing this to light. We want to, and I believe that we make an effort to affirm the dignity of all of our students, including our transgender and non-binary students and our colleagues. Right? So the college is taking several steps to really look at our structures, what we're doing systematically and systemically, such as changing binary gender options on our applications, creation of gender affirming spaces, and also gender affirming practices in HR STEM. So we are looking at this because we know that sense of belonging, sense of dignity, the idea that this is your educational home is something that should be felt by all of our students, by all of our faculty, all of our staff, everyone who engages and touches in any way, any component of Montgomery College. And I know those are sentiments and values to which we have espoused and to which we enact, and we're continuing and we desire and we will progress with our equity and inclusion efforts. I do know that there's also been mandatory equity and inclusion training. This year actually focuses on anti-racism and bias. So there is that training, and I know since 2019, the topics have varied. So each year there's been, a different topic, and in 2019, from my understanding, is the topic actually focused on language including pronoun usage. But I want to say again, thank you for creating a space and place that is inclusive, that is equitable. We're engaged in these conversations, and we will continue these conversations and action. So thank you.
Before we get to our next question, I do want to say if you are having problems with the chat function, be sure to email your questions to townhall@montgomerycollege.edu. Our next question is from Kim McGettigan, staff member at Tacoma Park. In the opening meeting, an improved and less complicated admission and registration process was mentioned. It would go a long way toward improving our numbers and provide a good start towards student success. Where are we on that initiative?
Thank you, Carolina. We are advancing. And for those of you, if you're having trouble with the chat, I understand, because I am one of those introverts that Carolina mentioned earlier who would be accessing the chat as opposed to trying to go live. So please have patience and continue to access. We really want to get to your questions and hear the voices of our introverts as well as our extroverts. So back to the question at hand. We are progressing. The college engaged with a leading higher education consulting firm to conduct an marketing and communications audit. And they reviewed more than 300 examples of communications we use with prospective and current students. I know there was actually meetings earlier this week, one in which I attended, to illustrate the opportunities that we have at the college. And I found the meeting quite fascinating. I found it extremely energizing. There is a level of enthusiasm around how we more equitably engage our students, how we streamline processes, how we ensure processes are following our students, right? So that is fantastic. I think the other meeting was approximately 3 hours long. It engaged a lot of individuals. You'll hear from myself a little later on, not today, but in a few days, in regards to how we're looking at our student support services, right? And this message really is predicated on years of our firm belief at Montgomery College of continuous learning, of assessment, right? Of trying to have a data-informed decision making and seeing how can we progress. Identifying a goal, creating initiatives, and figuring out, assessing if those initiatives have helped us achieve our goal. And right now, we are at a point in time where it would be prudent, and we are moving forward with an actual review of the services that support our students. And we'll be doing this in concert. Dr. Monica Brown will be leading this effort. For obvious reasons, I think, but we're very excited about this assessment, this critical analysis that is going to review enrollment processes and procedures, including the alignment with admission and registration. It's going to help us continue to think about, because I've heard this from so many individuals. I actually heard a little bit about this morning at a workforce development and continuing education meeting that I attended. It's going to, this analysis, this review, this critical inquiry is going to further our thoughts and our actions about a student is a student is a student, right? A credit student's not different than a non-credit student, right? And we need to identify what students need to gain access to Montgomery College, to complete at Montgomery College, right? To transcend and experience post-completion success after Montgomery College. So these are the types of really inquiries. These are the types of opportunities that we have to embrace. We've done so much. We have so many successes to point to. And I can also say after 7 months and listening to both internal and external constituents, there is such a great deal of energy around the possibilities of what else we can do. How can we uplift what is currently working well? How can we identify new strategies that are student-centered, all right, and really amplify those? So,
okay. And once again, if you would like to send in a question, remember to email at townhall@montgomerycollege.edu. Our next question is from Benedict Lukubama, who writes on behalf of the MC Track and Field program. It is long, but I think the takeaway is they are requesting for the track and field to be upgraded to US ATF standards, as well as a new throwing circle put in. We have had to shorten the question a bit, but here are some portions. Credit must be given to Montgomery College for redoing the track. However, not enough changes have been made to the track and field program. The outdoor track is a key factor in training and competing for track and field athletes. The current track has cracks and stains and is not USATF certified. It leads to accidents and injuries and prevents proper force production. Besides injuries, the current track does not meet standards. Currently, the only track MC athletes have access to does not have properly placed marks. The lines and marks are wrongly placed on the track. Not only that, but the current outdoor track may not be a full 400-meter track. The track team and the other student athletes are asking for a new track. Track and field include running in the track and field events, long jump, triple jump, high jump, throwers, and more. In track and field, there needs to be a throwing circle for the hammer, shot put, and discus. A new track field and throwing circle benefit all. The track athletes, the other sports teams that use it, coaches can better coach safer practices.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So I will say there's a lot there, and kind of reflecting back to some of my personal experience with athletics. All the moving pieces are very interesting. Having the right amount of cushion on a playing field, and the markings really are these small yet large details that at times can keep us compliant with other overarching policies, and our student athletes being able to actually participate and receive the recognition and the experience both on and off the field that they deserve as student athletes. I know that we've transitioned not too long ago in terms of our divisions, and with that transition obviously comes a commitment to providing the resources needed for that transition. And that's a conversation that I know I've been engaged with since my arrival is, so what are those conditions, right? What does that look like now that we are Division II, Division I with some sports, right? And I think for a more substantive response in terms of some more detail, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And thank you for the question. And my answer will be brief, as Dr. Williams spoke to our transition from a D3 to a D2, D1 scholarship offering athletic program. We made a commitment as a college at that time to review our programs and our facilities, and we are doing that. We have had some improvements, as you mentioned. We have a wonderful soccerplex now, but there is still work that we are in the process of doing. I have met with my colleague, Mr. Sherwin Collette, who is an advocate and an ally as we've talked about the facilities and ways that we can work together to support student athletes and to give you the type of experience that you deserve. So we look forward to continuing this work, and we'll look forward to meeting with our student athletes, our coaches, and others in the athletic program as we begin anew the review that we started before the pandemic, and we are now ready to continue that discussion as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Thank you very much.
We have a question from our Zoom audience, and this is from Kay Ahmad. The question is, but just to clarify, this is an ELAP program advisor and cadre advisor. The new course scheduling system and policies associated with canceling classes too early, as well as limited class options due to staffing issues, have made it difficult for students to take the courses that they need. Wait lists are high, and students are frustrated with the limited class options. How will the college move forward to rectify these issues with scheduling and staffing?
Thank you, Catalina. Thank you for the question. It is definitely an art and science. I think everyone who has been involved in scheduling knows that there are a lot of moving pieces to scheduling. I think first and foremost is meeting the needs of our students. And that's where we start. And I know that we've done such a great effort of that with when I think about late starting classes, 7-week classes, 13-week class opportunities, what has happened in terms of virtual classes and the different components. So I think we start with the students and we try and provide the experience that our diverse students are looking for, because we have our students who we quote unquote call traditional, and then we have students obviously who are neo-traditional. Some people like to call them non-traditional, but that's not the term that I'm using today. And so, once again, starting with students, but we want to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of our students. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Rai for a little bit more of a response on that question.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. And Kay, thank you for that question. As you know, college is engaged in the last several years in getting our scheduling right. Giving students options, courses, right courses at the right time, and almost trying to eliminate cancellations. We succeeded until the pandemic. Pandemic came and a lot of things changed. Going to virtual, more options, 7-week classes, and not sure about the student patterns. So we are trying to get it right. It is true that some of our classes got canceled a little bit early on, and those were requests from departments where they were not able to staff. Few classes got canceled because staffing was an issue. Then we waited, until the first week of August with, several sections with zero enrollment. So of course we had to cancel those classes. Several areas where demand was high and rightfully so, there were wait list, and lots of sections were added. Sometimes sections were converted from one format to the other format following the student demands. We will continue to work on scheduling. Our goal is to put guaranteed schedule out for the 3 years so a student can plan early. And also, students can register hopefully for the whole year, not semester by semester registration. So we are working on it, and I see a lot of improvements in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rai.
And now we're going to go to a question from our Zoom audience. We have Benedict with us. Go ahead and let us know what the question is.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Well, first off, thank you for bringing up my question, and thank you for giving that attention. I would just like to know what the time frame for those changes would be, and who is appointed to oversee those changes.
Absolutely.
I asked about that.
And so Benedict was asking about the track and field.
Yes.
So it's a follow-up question.
Thank you, Benedict. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Brown for that response.
Yes, and thank you, and it's great to actually see your face. I would say immediately. As a matter of fact, I met with the athletic director, Coach G, as you all call her, Director Tarlo Gasquet, and Dean McFadden earlier today to talk about the facilities to address some of the more immediate concerns, as you may have heard earlier, about the locker rooms and so on and so forth. So I would say we are starting immediately. That doesn't mean we will resolve it immediately, however, but we are aware of it, and your question has certainly brought that top of mind for us, and we are certainly prepared to bring together a group of people, as I said, before the pandemic, that started looking at the plans to upgrade facilities. And so we've had some changes in terms of personnel, and I mentioned earlier my colleague, Mr. Sherwin Collette, who has been reviewing with his staff our facilities. And so we had an opportunity just last week to walk the baseball field at the Germantown campus, and I'm inviting Mr. Collette to take a walk together with me to look at the facility that you've brought up, and we will do that, I would say, immediately, but with a plan to look at all of our facilities and then get back about which facilities we will address and how quickly we'll be able to address each one. So the first plan of action is to really review what we have in place and then come up with a plan for how we address the facilities moving forward.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Okay, our next question is from Professor Gus Griffin, Counseling and Advising. Good afternoon, Dr. Williams. I'm a fan of Ronald Martin, whom will be the keynote speaker at this year's Diversity Summit. That said, according to the speaker's page, he commands 10 to 20K per engagement. So the question is two-part. Could that money be better spent on already existing programs that have ongoing direct contact with the same student population? Or B, how does a college measure the effectiveness of the Diversity Summit beyond the anecdotal?
Great. Thank you for that question. And I really appreciate that because we want to be, and I believe we are, good stewards of the funds that we have, to reach our goals, right? And we want to have the fiscal plan that is actually supporting our vision, our mission, our values, our strategic plan, our path forward. So my understanding, and I will turn it over in a moment, is that the conference is actually a joint effort of several institutions of higher education. There are both membership and attendance fees that are utilized to support what happens, in terms of the coordination and the planning and the actual execution of the conference. And I will turn it over to Dr. Brown to share a little bit more detail.
Well, thank you, Professor Griffin, for the question. In terms of the speaker that we have this year, and thank you for a shout out for the program, and Mr. Roland Martin will be the keynote speaker. As Dr. Williams said, the fee that we use, the money that we use to pay the fee for the speaker, and we do this every year, comes from the joint effort by the participating community colleges here in the state of Maryland. And so it isn't Montgomery College money per se, but it is the money that comes from the contributions from the other institutions, as well as the registration fee for the participating students. That said, yes, there is a great opportunity for us to come together to think about how we use what we have in place here at Montgomery College to address the same populations of students. And so that is work that we are engaged in. And as you know, we've talked about doing this work collectively, and I look forward to sitting with you and others as we begin to ramp up this effort moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
The next question comes from Zoom, and it's again from Kay Ahmad, ELAB professor, reading student services and assessment. Will staffing at the assessment centers be improved so that we can provide more access to assessment within the assessment center?
One more time, please.
Yep.
Catalina?
Will staffing at the assessment centers be improved so that we can provide more access to assessment within the assessment centers?
All right. So I just asked a lot of assessments and questions. So I wanted to make sure I have a thank you for deeply engaging in today's conversations. What I would say is I'd really like to know more about the opportunities and challenges at the assessment centers. It sounds like you're introducing something that you have identified as an opportunity, and I'd love to hear more about it. I will transition it over to someone who knows a little bit more about it than I do. Dr. Brown, we're tag teaming today.
All right,
So-
yes, we are, sir. And thank you for the question, Professor Ahmed. and I appreciate that we continue to have discussions about the assessment center and the staffing of the assessment center. The role of the assessment center has changed. We do more testing than assessment, actually. As you know, we, especially during the pandemic, during our remote work, we shifted how we assess students, and that was both a necessity and an opportunity for us to be able to bring students into the college by assessing work they had done in high school and other ways of helping place students and assessing their placement level. Therefore, I would say the assessment center is appropriately staffed for the work that they are currently doing. At the same time, as we looked at the assessment center across the college, we were able to add additional staff to our Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus where there were fewer staff. At this time, we do assess how often students are coming into the assessment centers on all 3 campuses, and we adjust accordingly. I work with Dr. Bartolomeo, who works with his team to determine hours of operation based on utilization by our students. So we look at that regularly and we adjust accordingly. We will be assessing that, however, moving forward as we look at all of our processes to include how students move through the institution with the assessment and the placement piece as well. So thank you again for the question, and you'll continue to see improvements in that area and opportunities for us to think better about how students are assessed and also the testing options that are made available to them.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
This question comes from Dr. Nancy Newton, Grants and Sponsored Programs Manager. Dr. Williams, as you are now in your 7th month of your presidency, what has surprised you most about Montgomery College that you did not have prior knowledge of before signing on the dotted line?
Dr. Newton, nice to be with you. Thank you for being here. Surprised me most about Montgomery College, I think it was more of it was just living and being in the moment. And I've shared this before, so I'm kind of reflecting in terms of, you can read, you can watch videos, you can come visit, but until you've really lived and breathed a situation, I don't think you can have the full complexity of it. And I am so thankful to the faculty, the staff, the students, our external partners who have helped me live and breathe, Montgomery College, right? The 75 plus years of impact, right? The community's college, the commitment to equity and inclusion, with a pursuit of anti-racism, right? The commitment to changing lives for all who can benefit from Montgomery College. So all items, all components that drew me to the college, but I do think the level in which all of those components were amplified through my lived experiences and everyone sharing with me has just been, it's just made a phenomenal impact on me. It's not something that you can experience by watching videos or reading accreditation reports or a budget or anything like that. So I'm thankful to you and everyone else who has engaged and shared with me about challenges and opportunities, about aspirations and achievements. So thank you. It's been a wonderful 7 months, and we're looking to move forward. So thank you.
We have a question from Hyde Revilla, staff member at the Digital Learning Center. When can we expect to start moving into the Broadbridge Drive location? What is the first semester we expect to run classes there?
Yes. So the Broadbridge Drive location, for everyone who is watching, I believe this is a direct question about our East County Education Center, which I'm very excited. If you missed it, the Board of Trustees recently provided me with the latitude to sign a lease agreement for our East County Education Center, which is time in the making, and I know has taken effort from so many individuals, or so many individuals have given effort towards this, and we've had county support, other external support, and the internal support has just been phenomenal. So we are excited about this opportunity, and the goal is that we would open doors, so to speak, for educational and educational support opportunities in summer or fall of 2023. I will, though, ask Dr. Kane to share a little bit more detail if he would so choose.
Happy to do that, Dr. Williams, and thank you very much for the question. This is a very exciting project, and the opportunity to expand our services to the East County is something that we have been working on for a very long time, and starting with the feasibility study that began in 2020. You know, the county is very supportive of this effort, both from the county executive's office as well as the county council, and the community is extremely excited to have Montgomery College be a part of the East County community. And so as we have worked to make this happen, I'm very, very pleased that we're at this point right now where we're just about ready to sign the lease and make it official. And when we do, we enter a phase of making the space ready for operation. That's designing, that's building, that's equipping, and our best estimates are 8 to 10 months from the time that we sign the lease, and so late summer, fall next year is when we'll be there. And just for comparison, for those of you who are familiar with, say, our Gaithersburg site or our Westfield site, which are both centers as well, this is about 3 to 4 times larger than they are. So it's a big center. It will have many services, classrooms, labs, offices, and we're planning to have both credit classes there as well as WDCE classes as well. So it's very exciting, and stay tuned for much more exciting news coming forward.
Thank you, Dr. Kane.
The next question is from Damaris Na, a student on Zoom, who's asking, in our last governance meeting, the issues of food contamination, price, and the Germantown campus cafeteria not being fully opened. Is there a body, is there anybody that a student could talk to about that?
Yes, thank you for the question. We just heard about this on yesterday. So from a student member of the College Council, and this is something that we will be following up on. So please know that your voice has been heard. It was very, I was very taken aback by the comments. So please know that your voice is represented by the College Council student council representative, and that is a component that we will be looking into immediately. So thank you for sharing that.
A student, her name is Abrima, she's asking, where do you see MC in the next 5 years?
Expanding into the East County. I want to kind of go to that. That's we are very excited about that. A group of us actually took a several-hour tour of the East County a few Saturdays ago. It was fantastic to engage with new community members, to enhance partnerships with current community members who we know and who we currently work with. So I would say that's one piece. The broader component of that, I would say, is continuing to be unabashedly dedicated to equitably enhancing student access, completion, and post-completion success. Looking at our educational offerings and ensuring that they lead to family-sustaining wages, leveraging our college and leveraging our education and educational support opportunities to really create social transformation. that leads to decreasing gaps that we see in poverty, decreasing gaps that we see amongst groups in income, creating change and social transformation that leads to economic and social mobility. I see us continuing on that path, and again, an unabashedly, unapologetic way that continues on the great history that we have here at Montgomery College, and also identifies new opportunities, opens doors that we have not opened before, engages with individuals and groups that we have not engaged with before, all for this greater outcome to positively impact society. Thank you again for your question.
I have some questions that have been circulating among senior leaders, so I want to touch on them.
All right.
When and how are we going to fix the enrollment, admission, and registration problem? It is still too hard for students to register for classes and get admitted. Will students ever be able to be admitted and register for classes at the same time in one setting like at other schools?
Yeah. That is that's a top priority, and people who I've had opportunity to share with, you've probably heard me say a lot, access and completion and post-completion success. And when we think about enrollment, it really does fit into those pieces, because enrolling students is educational access. And for every resident who we do not enroll, that is a missed opportunity for us as a college, right? That has an impact on an individual and on our society, on our county, but is a missed opportunity for us to be able to engage an individual in a way that is life transformational, right? So that is a priority for us. I mentioned some of the work that we're already doing in terms of engaging with a higher ed consulting firm, in terms of looking at our student support areas and student affairs areas. I'd be remiss if I didn't share that we have Dr. McNair, who is now thinking and acting on student access and about student access, and identifying our opportunities, our challenges, looking at our pain points and uplifting our points of success, because we want to get to a point where any student can come and be able to accomplish all of their goals in one sitting, whether that be face-to-face or whether that be virtual. So in terms of time frame, I would say quick, fast, and in a hurry. This is something that we are very much dedicated towards, and we're already seeing outcomes in terms of our level of engagement and changes that we're making. And I don't know if Dr. Brown or Dr. McNair would like to add anything else, but I'd love for you to hear your input.
I'd love to hear someone else's voice.
Dr. McNair?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about enrollment management. What I will share is one of the things that I would uplift is that everyone has some sort of contribution for enrollment management. Currently in MC Learns, there are almost 20 information sessions that are available for faculty and staff to attend to talk about some of the trends, best practices, promising practices for us to work on addressing some of our enrollment pain points. So I encourage everyone to participate. Your feedback is definitely welcome and necessary.
Thank you, Dr. McNair.
Dr. Williams, thank you very much. We do not have time for more questions, but I do want to thank you for engaging with us in conversation. And I want to thank our studio, our panelists, and all of you watching on Zoom. I do want to invite you to our next town hall, which is November 15th. And you can also, if you have any closing remarks, any last thing you might want to say?
I'd love to share some closing remarks. One, this has been absolutely fabulous. I can't wait until the next town hall where we're scheduled to be in person. I hope that I've learned a lot today, and I hope that that is reciprocal, and that we've all learned a lot today. I know we're all dedicated to lifelong learning. It's great to feel the energy, because I know our entire conversation was dedicated towards supporting our students, supporting each other, advancing the college, and enhancing the communities that we serve. And that is a great place to be. That's why I I have a smile on my face all the time. Thank you for the conversation. I always appreciate, again, the energy that everyone brings to our engagements, our time together. Regardless of the place and space where we are, I can still feel the energy, the excitement, enthusiasm about Montgomery College and advancing our mission. The passion that we have for our work and our mission of serving the students, again, is one of those things that definitely keeps me motivated. On that note, I will remind you of inaugural activities. They are approaching. You can get a list of them on the website. I think we have the site that's coming up. There it is. And I will share that I do plan to continue the tradition of the Presidential Dialogue Series in November, when I will welcome local entrepreneur Seth Goldman for a conversation. You may know him as a co-founder of Honest Tea, now the CEO of Eat the Change, which provides plant-based food. And as of last week, I read he got back into the tea business, and he launched Just Ice Tea, which if you put just and ice together, Justice Tea. So I cannot wait to talk business and social entrepreneurship in November with him. And again, thank you all so very much for joining. Thank you for everything you do to positively contribute to supporting our students, supporting each other, advancing the college, the communities we serve in the entire county. MCTV, you all are absolutely fantastic. Thank you for this. Thank you to everyone who is serving as a resource. You've been awesome today. Really appreciate your time, your level of detail, your dedication to the college. Now I will turn it back over to Carolina.
Thank you so much. So once again, our next town hall is November 15th. You can also keep an eye out on montgomerycollege.edu/town hall. And you can always rewatch this town hall today on the replay. So thank you very much for joining us.